I was walking down 170th Street in my Bronx neighborhood when I thought about something David Carroll had talked about Arab and foreign owned stores in the community. And I was walking by one of these Arab owned stores, and I was surprised to see a for rent sign where it used to stand. Now, this is not the first time I've seen one of these signs in front of these foreign owned stores. In this predominantly Hispanic neighborhood that I live in, I've seen these Arab owned stores come to the neighborhood, and then within 6 months to a year, they were out of business. So it clearly shows me, how Hispanics deal with foreigners coming into their community. Pretty much, your average Hispanic will not, Dominican, your Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, your Mexican, they will not shop in these places. Now, they'll shop at the Dominican bodega or the Mexican store, or they'll shop at the Mexican guy, selling churros on the street or, pastries on the street, but they will not go in one of these Arab owned or Lebanese owned stores. They just won't go in there. And I've been in this neighborhood for about 25 years now, and I've watched all sorts of. I remember when the neighborhood was predominantly black at one time, but when when it comes down to economic power, I've watched what these Hispanics have done, and they have pretty much killed these Arab and foreign-owned stores in their neighborhoods, in the neighborhood, pretty much. And it pretty much shows me, what can be done. And the Negro, he won't take this type of action. We have one, right across the corner from, right adjacent from the corner of my apartment building, and the only way this guy makes money is when Negroes go in there, because the only people who go in that store and shop in there are Negroes. The Hispanics, they go up the hill or they go further up the street to the Dominican-owned stores or Puerto Rican-owned stores, and they go and shop there. And it showed me, seeing these for rent signs on these formerly Arab-owned stores. It showed me how, how united and in solidarity Hispanic community is at protecting their own businesses and their own business interests, because this is the second or third Arab-owned store I've seen on 170th Street go right out of business, and it's really interesting to see that. I mean, it proves Mr. Carroll's argument that other communities don't let these guys come in their community and make money off of them. When it comes down to the Hispanic community, they've pretty much protected their own business interests. Whereas the Negro is the only person who shops at these foreign-owned stores. The only people I see going in and out of these, red and white chicken places or these other foreign-owned grocery stores are Negroes. There's the only people who I see in those stores, and the only people I see standing outside of them. Because we have a couple of Dominican-owned bodegas, up the hill from where I live, and I've seen the store owners chase these guys out. The Negroes want to call themselves standing outside there and hanging out there, and the store owners will chase them out. Whereas the Arab store owner will let you stand outside of his store. He'll sell you the loose cigarettes and all sorts of stuff. The Hispanic guy's not going to do that. He may let people get stuff on credit, but he's not going to do no illegal stuff to mess up his license. And I've seen this, and it's very interesting to me, and I've also seen, even when I went to Harlem, I was 145th Street one day. They had another Arab-owned store closed down. Um, it was very interesting, and this is Sugar Hills, partially gentrified. Again, I don't know what happened there, but I've seen people, put up some resistance to these foreign-owned stores, and the Hispanic community pretty much has put up a tremendous amount of resistance to them. They come, they open up, but then a year, 6 months, a year and a half later, they're gone, and there's nothing there but a for rent sign. And the reason why these stores go out of business is because Hispanics pretty much refuse to shop there, and they refuse to put their money into it. They understand, the concept of group economics, but then again, the Hispanic community has been pretty strong on economics and political power here in the Bronx, because I've lived here all my life, and I've watched them build, where black people refuse to build. People made fun of Hispanics, talking about how they had bodegas and all this other stuff, but they used the money from those bodegas to, send their kids to school, private schools. They used it to build political power, because I remember when the Bronx borough president was a Jewish guy, and then Fernando Ferrer came to power, and then, all the councilman offices, all the representative offices, they all became Hispanics. And I also, in the state legislature, state senate, all of them became Hispanic politicians, all because they knew how to use their economic power to turn it into political power. And I've watched the Bronx, become a Hispanic powerhouse, economic and political powerhouse, because they know how to work together and use group economics as a tool. Now, the Negro, who was here at the same time that Hispanics were coming up, could have done the exact same thing. I mean, I remember a time in the early '80s when the 167th Street shopping district, that's not too far from my home, had predominantly black-owned businesses, and Negro just didn't do their job in maintaining those businesses, and all of it, eroded. All that economic power eroded because people took things for granted. They didn't take care of their community, and the people who came behind them, the Hispanics who came in, took that power and they used it to build their community up. And they use it to protect their community right now, because I see how these Arabs come into the community. They open a store, but the store doesn't last because people continue to shop, where they get work and where they keep their money flowing in the community. Hispanic community continues to keep that money flowing with other Hispanic people. And again, this is like the third or fourth Arab-owned store I've seen on 170th Street, you know, die. I mean, I saw one a couple of years ago die. This is the second or third one I've seen die. I mean, these stores get no traffic from Hispanics. Hispanics will not shop there. And the neighborhood is predominantly Dominican. There's a lot of Mexicans, Puerto Ricans here, and they will not shop there. The only people who shop, at these stores are Negroes. And I has one right adjacent from the corner of my own building. And the only people who I see standing in there buying sandwiches and other stuff are Negroes. They're the only people who go in these stores. And they're the only people who give away their economic power. Everybody else makes sure that their dollars continue to flow in the hands of their own people. And they understand the concept of group economics. Most of your Negroes, on the other hand, don't understand this concept. And this is why, the black community continues to remain the poorest in the land in 2015. Um, Black dollars go to finance everybody else's employment and then continue to finance black unemployment. Um, we just don't get it when it comes to money. And I look at that observation that I saw. I mean, this was just me walking down the street, getting ready, just doing an errand, and it just dawned on me, what Mr. Carroll had pointed out in one of his videos about how white communities don't have these stores in their neighborhood. And from what I'm seeing, you're not starting to see. They may come to a Hispanic community, but they pretty much don't last. So it's just a matter of time before they stop coming to Hispanic communities overall, because there's no money to be made. And I've seen this, this is like the third or fourth time I've seen it, but it is possible to protect your community's economic resources. Um, the only people who employ other people, are Negroes. And I've even seen, living here in the Bronx, even with the Korean businesses, they've left because other Hispanics won't shop there. They won't go to a Korean nail salon. They go to a Hispanic nail salon, and they'll keep their business in the community. Again, they understand the concept of group economics, whereas your Negro, he just shops with anyone. That's why they say the Negro dollar is liquid money. He's guaranteed to, elevate other people, but won't elevate himself. His money is guaranteed to make you rich because he won't, take his money and invest it towards building his own community. But that's the Negro for you. That's just an observation I had. Just walking down the street, and this is just something I've seen with this community that I live in, that they won't spend money, with these foreign-owned stores. But the only people you see spending money in a foreign-owned store is a Negro. The only person you see, spending money without thinking about where it's going is a Negro. And the only other person who doesn't understand that economic power, leads to political power, is your Negro. He is the only person, or she are the only persons who don't take that long, hard look at the flow of their dollars. And I've lived in the Bronx here for 41, going on 42 years, and I've seen the rise of, the Hispanic economic power and the rise of Hispanic political power, and I've seen the decline of black economic power and political power. Because I remember, growing up as a kid, where many of these neighborhoods were black neighborhoods, and it was predominantly black. And again, we had the opportunity to build it up, but then, we didn't understand what group concept of group economics was, and the concept of keeping your own dollars in your own community, and we pretty much lost our own communities, and we continue to lose it. I mean, I remember, back in the late 80s when there were black-owned businesses, on strips like 167th Street and 170th Street. Well, 170th Street had a little bit more Asian businesses, but I do remember 167th Street, there were a lot of black-owned businesses, like the Black Newsstand. I know of. There was Jerry's Den. I think there was a Murray's back in the day. There were black-owned businesses, and I did shop there, on a regular basis as a kid. And I remember these businesses, and I remember them. I even remember a cleaners that was black-owned. Again, I remember black-owned businesses, and I remember many black-owned businesses. But because black people, they think everybody else's products are better, they don't support them. And sometimes our own problems with customer service, held us back. But we don't look at the big picture, and this is what holds us back as a people, is that we don't look at that big picture, and we continue to take our dollars, and we don't circulate them in our own communities and circulate them with our own people, so that we can employ our own people and build wealth in our own communities, and even build political power in our own communities, because we don't think about these things and other people do. And just seeing, again, this is like the third foreign Arab owned store, become a casualty in a Hispanic neighborhood. And this is a very, very poor Hispanic neighborhood at that. And they understand, group economics, and they make sure to protect their own community. It shows me how easy this is, and how the solution, is right in front of the Negro, but he won't take it. Because again, everybody's ice is always colder than his own. Um, and it's just something to think about. When you think about, I think about how much my neighborhood has changed over the last, 25 years since I was a kid and since I moved here, and it just shows me, again, the truth and what Mr. Carroll's statement is, that, uh, that you can protect you can protect the dollars in your own community, and that you don't need to just keep shopping at these places where they give you bad products, bad service, and everything is just poor quality. You can protect your own, because I see it right now with these Hispanic-owned businesses. This is what they do. They protect their own communities. They don't allow people to just hang out and stand out in front of their stores. Because I was in a bodega. I was doing, again, after I did these errands. They didn't know there were a bunch of black guys standing in front of the store, just hanging out. Guy comes out and just tells them they have to leave, and they left. Whereas at the Arab-owned store, these guys would be standing outside, impeding his business. And the same thing with the red and white chicken places, standing outside, begging for change, impeding their business. That's the only reason why the Negro likes these type of businesses, because they allow them to, loiter and fool around and trespass. Whereas other businesses would tell you, you can't loiter here. You can't sit around all day and not do anything or not be buying anything, because one, it impedes the business's progress, and two, it leads to a certain sleazy element to the business. People start thinking that you're selling dope in the business and stuff like that. When you have a legitimate business, you want to have the area open for transact for you, so that customers can come in and out. You don't want some guy just standing in there for the sake of standing in there. And good. I see in a Hispanic-owned business, they don't allow people to just stand outside the store all day long, drinking or just hanging out. They don't allow it to happen. And I've seen the difference in the Arab-owned store. This is what they do. They allow these Negroes to stand outside. They're standing out there begging for change. I mean, get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go stand outside of a store. Unless you're working in a Hispanic-owned store, they don't allow you to do that. And I've been there, and it's pretty much clear. They tell these people to move on. Sometimes they even get the police to make you move on. But, that's just, again, my observations. Watching the difference, how things in the Hispanic community are different than your Negro community. Now, there are Negroes in this community, but again, they're the only ones shopping at these Arab-owned stores, and they're the only ones helping to enrich others. Whereas in the Hispanic business, Hispanics shop with other Hispanics, and they enrich each other, and they use that economic power to maintain the political power they gained in the 1980s. Now, they'll even put up political signs for the candidates and all that stuff. They make sure that everything is protected. Now, we could have that exact same thing as black people, but a lot of us, we just don't want to work together. We don't have that solidarity. We don't have that unity. And we need to have that unity if we want to hope to build that strong black community. We need to understand how these tools work, because the tools are right in front of the Negro to build up his own community and make it as strong as any other community. And everybody won't be enriching themselves, but the Negro will be enriching himself. And I mean, the tools are right in front of you, and the solutions are very simple. Just like Mr. Carroll said, you just don't shop there. I mean, the Hispanics have not shopped there, and I've watched 3 times as these same delis and stores have been forced to close because everybody instead decides, I'm going to go, even if I have to walk 4 or 5 blocks down to the Dominican store, or I have to walk 4 or 5 blocks down to the Puerto Rican store. The Hispanics will go and do that. Even the Mexicans will do that. They'll go and put that money in the hands of their own people to enrich their own people and make sure that that money continues to circulate in their own community. And it's a shame that black people who've been here for 400 years just don't understand this very concept and will not apply it in their own community. The tools, again, for wealth are right in front of the Negro, but he just refuses to roll up his sleeves and go out and do the hard work. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.